Hey there, welcome back to ADSR Massive Tutorials. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make that kind of dirty square bass sound. A couple of requests come in for those sort of kind of deep house garage style bass sounds that are getting really popular at the moment. And you can see I was automating that sound there to show it's got a bit of versatility, so you could have it kind of nice and stabby and plucky, or more sort of like warbly, more garage-esque. Okay, so you can download this patch directly from the massivesynth.com website. There's a link on the screen. Click on that link, go straight to the website, download the patch. We're going to recreate it here anyway. And also a shout for the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ADSRtuts. Get yourself subscribed. So yeah, we're going to recreate this sound here and also discuss a little bit about the little bit of processing applied to this sound, kind of just using the patch in sort of real life context really, so producing it and then layering it with a sine wave sound and doing some sidechain compression. So for starters though, recreate that patch exactly as we had it there, and in order to do that I'm going to start off with the wavetables in the oscillator section. I'm going to use 3 smooth square wavetables stacked up here. So oscillator 1, load up this smooth square wavetable, take the pitch down by 2 octaves and bring the wavetable position to around about halfway. So this smooth square wavetable is great for those kind of garagey sort of bass sounds. That square wave, sort of driven square wave sound really works really well. So oscillator 2, stack up another smooth square wavetable, bring the wavetable position a little bit further around to the left and then bring it down by 2 octaves. And oscillator 3 now, another smooth square wavetable, and maybe just a slightly different kind of position on the wavetable there. Bring the pitch down by 2 octaves. And then what I'm going to do is detune all of these wavetables. So if I go maybe 0.17 on oscillator 3, again that nice detuned sound, and maybe 14 oscillator 2, and then 15 oscillator 1. And let's go to this oscillator section now and check that restart via gate. So re-trigger in the oscillator phases, so we're getting more of a consistent bass tone. Bring the master volume down now. So it's sounding quite fat. Let's move now to this filter section. Set up a daft filter in filter 1 here. Bring the resonance down to around 1/4 the way up. Pull the cutoff frequency down to 0. And let's use an envelope to modulate that cutoff frequency. So click and drag the crosshair from this envelope. Drop it in the first modulation box, the cutoff frequency of filter 1. Click and drag up. So we're applying a little bit of envelope modulation. And let's set this envelope up. So attack maybe about 1/4 of the way. Attack level on full, decay, bring down ever so slightly, and sustain or decay level down to 0. So we've got that nice sort of stabby bass kind of shape at the moment that we can automate. So let's use a macro here. So click and drag the crosshair from the second macro and drop it in this modulation box in the attack of this kind of modulation envelope and click and drag up. So now, as we will I've shown you at the start of the tutorial, we've got the attack macro there, so we can automate that, which is pretty cool. And let's also clear that vibrato macro, use this first macro as a kind of a volume control for the envelope modulation that we've got in here. So I've activated the sidechain function there by clicking that SC there and it activates it, and then just on this modulation here, this cutoff frequency modulation, check the arrow to up, and so now this first macro is a volume control for this modulation here. It's basically doing this now with the way we've got it set up, moving this up and down is the equivalent of us doing this and moving this modulation up and down. But the advantage of having it macroed is that we can't automate doing, like, pushing this modulation up and down. We can't automate that, so but we can automate the macros, so it's a way of automating those modulations. So that's pretty nice. So rename that filter mod. So and we could have another macro here just for the filter in general. So that's just going to open up the filter, rename that filter, and let's move over to this voicing section now. And the sound's still in polyphonic, so we could make it monophonic. But I noticed, I'll turn the volume up a bit here, you get a little bit of clicking in that monophonic mode, and when that occurs kind of on bass sounds, it tends to occur in massive on sort of bass sounds, quite subby bass sounds. Check it to Monorotrate, and that sometimes sorts out that clicking, so it's a bit smoother on the sort of transitions in between notes. And let's have a final macro here, macro 4. Use that to control this glide time. So we can have lots of glide or just no glide at all. So rename that glide. Now let's get some effects going on this sound. So I'll start off in the effects 1 slot. I'm going to add a classic tube. Bring the dry wet down. Bring the drive down. And let's also have a dimension expander. Bring the size right down, so there's not too much stereo width on there. Just adding a nice amount of depth to the sound. Finally, in insert effects, I'm going to add a Sine Shaper. That really kind of just makes it really takes it in a new direction, doesn't it? When you turn that on. And you could change the routing section, but where it is at the moment, just straight after filter 1 is fine. Also going to use the EQ to just shape the sound a little bit, so I'm going to boost a lot of low shelf in there. And I'm going to also boost some kind of lower, sort of lower mids. That's bringing the sound out quite nicely there. And that's the sound done really, so playing around with the filter mod and the attack, we can just change the sound, make it a bit more stabby or a bit more garagey. And yeah, there's a little bit of processing going on here. So just if we were going to use this bass in a track, how I might approach sort of dealing with the processing and stuff. So what I've done on this bass sound is I've done a little bit of a low frequency roll, taken all that sub out, and I've also added a sidechain compressor, and using this sidechain trigger here, you can see this sidechain in action. It's only sidechaining the low frequencies, so I'm not sidechaining the high frequency on this bass sound. If I was, just so it's a little bit more kind of subtle, I don't want that really over sort of pronounced pumping sidechain effect. I just want it to sort of duck out of the kick drum, so I'm just sidechaining the low frequency on that square wave bass sound, and then I duplicated the bass sound in here and converted this bass patch from it being all square waves. I just turned off oscillator 2, oscillator 3, oscillator 1 I converted into a sine square and brought the wavetable position all the way around to the left, so it's just a sine wave, but we've got the same envelope shape as the bass sound that I've shown you how to make before. but then that's just the sine wave, so that's the sub. And whereas I've rolled the low frequency out of this bass sound, with this bass sound I've rolled the high frequency off. Where's the EQ gone? Oh, that's the Pro C. Yeah, so there's no high frequency in this sub. And another interesting thing to note is I've got quite a heavy sidechain on this sub. You can see about 15 dB ducking out there. And what I notice is when you sidechain subs, sometimes you get quite a bad click afterwards. So if I turn off this EQ, you can hear that click on the sidechain. So a way of getting rid of that is inserting an EQ after the sidechain compressor and then just rolling off all that high frequency, and that just rolls away that click. So let's put it all back in context with the beat. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Any questions, please get in touch. You can of course download the patch directly from the massivesynth.com website. Whilst you're there, we've got loads of other stuff on there, loads of other tutorials, so just check all the stuff out, and I hope to see you soon. Alright, cheers, bye.